Season 1 of Arcane, Jayce's story was about a young man trying to help improve people's lives through the innovation of hex tech, a blend between magic and technology. This noble and ambitious goal soon ran up against the harsh realities and challenges of bringing it to life, struggling to prove their technology is feasible and safe. However, the success of the device attracted the wrong type of people eager to exploit it as a weapon. Upon the gemstone being stolen, Jayce was appointed counsel due to being the face of hex tech. Rather than dedicating his time advancing the hex tech research and making the technology widely accessible, he found himself consumed with other responsibilities, focused on ensuring the safety of the technology, meddling in the political ring of Piltover, and unraveling the corruption within the city. This strains his partnership with Vector, not being involved in the research that united them. The main focus of Jayce makes the character interesting. He struggles to balance what he wants to achieve as a scientist and his responsibility to his city, that he doesn't want Hextech to be a weapon. However, the best way to protect the city is by weaponizing it. However, once Jayce got a glimpse of how destructive Hextech could be in a raid, he decided against militarizing it, finding other options like negotiating for peace no matter the cost. In Season 2 of Arcane, I was hoping to see Jayce's story expand as he struggles to maintain peace amidst the chaos following the attack that left many of the council members dead. What I expected to happen is Jayce rising to the occasion, stepping up as a leader for Piltover during this crisis. However, this doesn't happen. Instead, Jayce's story spent locked in his room till he got teleported to an alternate dimension, disappearing throughout Act 2, until the end, coming back as a crazy maniac, killing everyone he sees. He refuses to negotiate with Victor until towards the end, where both of them end up dying together.
What the hell happened here?
Now, there is a lot to unpack what I've said, so let's start in Act 1, where it begins following up with the attack. Jayce attempts to save Victor using the Hex Core, a device that he told him to destroy. Within the context, it's reasonable to believe Jayce will make the decision, but after this scene, the direction strays away from Jayce's story, where the majority of the time is spent worrying about Victor, which he will be. However, it's spent locked in a room watching over him. The problem with this is that Jayce doesn't have time to do this. Piltover currently needs a leader. Jayce will be attending council meetings, investigating why did this happen since he made a deal with Silco, giving him all he wants for peace. Upon figuring out it was Jinx, he will be negotiating whoever's leading Zon to give her up while trying his best to stop Mbessa or maybe the public encouraging him to weaponize Hextech. There's a lot for Jayce to be doing for how involved he was in the council than being in his lab. The only decision to have Jayce make doesn't make sense and completely goes against what he learns from Season 1 and breaking his character, where an attack by Zon occurs during a ceremony to honor the fallen council members. The issue is that it gives an excuse for the characters to want to send a strike force into Zon with the goal of eliminating its leaders and capturing Jinx. The attack is prompted by Greedy Mother attempting to assassinate Jayce, seeking revenge for her son's death. However, it wouldn't make sense for Jayce to support such an operation. He knows this incident was an isolated act driven by personal grief, not an organized attack by Zon. Jayce will understand that retaliation with force could unnecessarily escalate tension and bring Piltor's wrath down to innocent people, something he deeply opposes, as seen in Season 1. Given this context, it makes little sense for Jayce to support Caitlyn's strike team armed with Hextech weaponry, let alone the use of gas, which is widely regarded as a war crime. The gas is described as knocking out individuals by cutting off the ability to breathe. It's particularly dangerous in Zon, a city already plagued by poor air quality. Deploying such an uncontrollable weapon in a densely populated urban area will cause far more collateral damage than any Hextech weaponry could ever do. This decision feels out of character for Jayce, especially considering his past experience with sending a strike force which led to unintended casualties, something he's trying to avoid. The idea of the gray in this context contradicts not only Jayce's values, but also the narrative established themes. It raises so much questions of the logic behind the writers to ever implement this scenario. Jayce's character inconsistency becomes even more apparent in his conversation with Victor upon waking up. During this exchange, Jayce reveals his intention to resign from the council to focus on working alongside Victor, as he believes that's where he truly belongs. This feels out of place, undoing his character development and growth established in the first season. Jayce's journey was compelling because of his struggles to navigate the pressures of leadership, ensuring Hextech was safe and used responsibly while dealing with the politics of Piltover. His decision to abandon the council, especially after the loss of half of its members, comes across as incredibly selfish. It disregards his responsibility to his city and undermines the sacrifices and lessons he endured throughout the first season. But the final scene involving Jayce further dilutes his character impact. His involvement in the plot concerning Echo's tree is given little attention in Season 2 there's no reason to even discuss it. This is more of an excuse to gather these 3 characters and have them disappear to an alternate dimension. The character they replaced to be Piltover's leader is Kaylin, someone that never expressed interest in being the politician, rather prefers to be on the field, especially where you have Mbessa manipulating her, something they were already setting up in season 1 with Jayce. It seems someone really adores Kaylin. Eventually, Jayce returns at the end of Act 2, but this version of his character feels completely disconnected from the Jayce we knew in season 1 and even Act 1 of season 2. He suddenly expressed a deep hatred for Hextech, calling it a curse, and takes drastic actions like healing Salo to prevent him from accessing resources meant for Victor, and decides to pay him a visit to kill him as well. It is just a drastic change in just a short amount of time that I find it more believable this is an evil version of Jayce from an alternate timeline. This sudden character change was never justified but inconsistent. In Act 3 they explore his time in the apocalyptic world, where you expect he was fighting for his life, but instead he's shown aimlessly wandering through the desolated Piltover, eventually falling into a hole. After losing his sanity and struggling to climb out, he meets a version of Victor who implores him to stop the devastation. Yet somehow, this experience leads to Jayce to return to Piltover with the intent of blasting everyone in sight, including Victor. This makes no sense. Why will he commit such a horrible action within the context? This is more of a meta reason. They purposely wrote Jayce doing this to create a climactic end for part 2, which frustrates me. They're willing to sacrifice his character to cheaply fabricate drama to gain viewers. This continues throughout Act 3, where he refuses to negotiate with Victor when numerous opportunities presented themselves to resolve this conflict peacefully to prevent a war. Jayce, the most diplomatic character in the series, wrote him to be someone aggressive and unreasonable. It's not a difficult task. It doesn't require an extensive conversation. Jayce could simply allow Victor to touch him and see the truth of the devastation firsthand. Victor wouldn't dismiss this insight. In fact, he believed Jayce. However, by the time they reach an understanding, it's too late, and both of them perish in an attempt to save the world. Moreover, his hatred for Hextech, labeling it a curse, is baffling. His main motivation is believing that technology could be used to help people. The problem isn't Hextech itself, but how Victor was misusing it. But the story veers into trying to make the technology inherently evil, rather than focusing on the morality of its use, which undermines the narrative core themes. In one of the interviews, the voice actor of Jayce expressed disappointment that his story was left unsatisfying, but to me, his story never began in season 2, due to the writers never focusing on the parts that made him interesting and expanding upon it. What I wanted to see is him struggling to find a peaceful resolution without resorting to weaponizing Hextech. No, they just removed him from the story and brought a completely different character. I find it frustrating because you may have noticed I hadn't referenced Jayce's lore from the game. That's because the game version of Jayce is pretty bad. He's arrogant, thinks of himself as superior, and he's just a dick. But somehow, Arcane Season 1 made him a more relatable character, becoming one of my favorites. It's disheartening to see how badly he was written in Season 2. Another disappointing thing for me is the relationship with Victor. I was hoping for a dramatic arc similar to Better Call Saul, where Kim and Saul split, where Jayce begins to see his partner losing himself and threatens the safety of the city, so Jayce decides to ultimately sacrifice his relationship in order to stop him. They decided instead to lazily write an alternate universe of the consequences Victor could cause, and when they do confront each other, it's just hard to feel engaged because they are completely different characters. Season 2 of Arcane fails to follow through on Jayce's character development, with many of his actions feeling inconsistent and poorly explained. This not only undermined his story, but also disrupted the main themes of the series, leaving his arc unsatisfying and disconnected from the foundations laid in Season 1. Thank you for watching, and bye.